the United States is getting ready to introduce some sort of new currency.
I think it's inevitable. I do believe it is inevitable. And they asked, I believe it was Ernest Hemingway, how'd you go broke, Ernest? And his answer was, I think, what our answer will be. How did the dollar collapse? Little by little, and then all at once. And that's how Ernest Hemingway went broke. That's how the dollar will collapse. The little by little is you are seeing the de-dollarization around the globe. And even though the dollar is strong in its relation to the dollar index, that's because it's measured against a bunch of basket case currencies that are in worse shape than we are, Australia and Canada and the United Kingdom and Japan. And so from a standpoint of the dollar index, fine, it has a relative strength, but look at what it's buying here at home, and look at the prospect of it really doing anything, standing up against countries that are massively accumulating gold and coming together under an admitted new standard that will be pegged to commodities. I believe ultimately, inevitably, if you are fully invested in dollars, you're destined to go broke. And I don't know when that happens, little by little, then all at once. But what I do think is that when we accumulate things like cryptocurrencies and precious metals, I think if you approach it from at least even cryptocurrencies, okay? If you look at your cryptocurrencies from the standpoint of it being wealth, not getting wealthy from them, not looking at it as an investment, but as wealth, you, I think, will have a much easier time choosing which cryptocurrency to buy, understanding the role of precious metals, and not doing things for the wrong reason, not inverting your pyramid. What I mean by that is that when you look at things that are speculative, that are high yielding potential, make a lot of money, those should be at the very tip of your financial pyramid. And the base of your pyramid should be things that are stable, that are low growth, low risk, low yield. Now, when I think of silver as an example, I think you could argue that its potential performance puts it at the top of the pyramid. Yet it's been wealth for 5,000 plus years. I look at it as very conservative. This silver eagle that I'm holding, to me, it's not anything speculative. I can feel this, I can hold it, and I can give it to my daughter, who can give it to her daughter someday, who can give it to her daughter someday. And in the year 3000, when my grandkids are spending this, my great-great-great-great-great-grandkids are spending this, God willing, long after the money in my wallet is hanging from a frame in the Smithsonian, this will still be immutable wealth. Now, I don't look at this as speculative, although the return potential for it is extraordinary. And anyway, so I just think that people need to look to alternative investments right now, because the dollar ultimately is going to collapse. When or how or what the trigger is, we don't know. Perhaps it's the fact that there's $85 trillion in FX swap debt, more or less missing because it's off the balance sheets, and it all comes due within the next year. So you have $85 trillion in foreign currency swaps, which is a derivative, which is not on the balance sheets. And of that, I don't know, a third of it or 2/3 of it is non-bank debt off of corporations who are making these currency swaps, which are derivatives that are not on their balance sheet, but all of this debt, almost all of it comes due in 2023, $85 trillion worth. Maybe that's the thing that bang blows up the whole system, creates a derivative time bomb. And the way all of these banks are incestuously connected, the systemic risk of holding dollars right now and being fully invested in dollars and all of your money in a bank is historically high. This is why we're looking for an exodus to out of the system to things like precious metals and cryptocurrencies. It is not to get wealthy. Now, you very well may get wealthy. And if you own enough precious metals, you will be wealthy. Right. But that's not why I talk about it. To your question, I think it's just a matter of time and something, whether it be FTX, whether it be all the derivatives that have come due in 2023. And this is not just from me. The Bank of International Settlements just published a report last week saying this is a huge problem. It's a time bomb waiting to go off. $85 trillion worth of missing dollar debt. And they call it missing because it's not on the balance sheets, but they know that it all comes due in 2023, 1-year maturities. And as things slow down and companies start to default, see, the whole premise of a derivative is counterparty's ability to perform. That's what gives it its value. And if the counterparty can't perform, then the whole thing starts to go haywire, and everyone is connected. Right. And I think ultimately the dollar collapses. The question is, what is the trigger? And there are a million of them out there, not least to say the massive de-dollarization by the world's central banks in pursuit of things like precious metals.
Right. No, yeah. This $85 trillion missing debt, that's very serious. I honestly think that is going to be the catalyst. Basically, what that's going to do is it'll wipe out every dollar in the world. And basically the world will be facing that staggering financial meltdown, with the potential loss because of the exceeding total of US dollars in circulation.
And when you think of this Klaus Schwab clown who talked about the Great Reset, it's like, are these guys so high up the food chain, man, that they are able to orchestrate or be the architects of this type of chaos? Do they know it's coming? You wonder, is there a fine line between conspiracy and reality? How much of it is just timing and circumstance? How much of it is orchestrated and architected?
The dollar has been getting weaker and weaker. And what we're at right now is where we're not even covering this on the mainstream news. We're seeing about Ukraine, which is a war the United States started to begin with. And we'll not get into that rabbit hole right now, but it's just that middle class is not able to make ends meet already. The fire is not finished. It's just getting started to spread right now because this $85 trillion debt. I did a lot of research into this, and it turns out that FTX is in the center of this, right? And the movement of money back and forth. But then we forget that FTX also leveraged with retail investor money into other Ponzi schemes and other things. And this is what I'm saying, this liquidity crisis that FTX is facing now, it's going to start to spill over into Grayscale and into Genesis and Gemini. They've been having liquidity issues. I warned people about this a while ago. No one listened. I mean, this is all tied together. Printing artificial money in the crypto space flowed into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is pumping it, faking liquidity to attract real dollars, and real customers are even leveraging themselves. People, like you said, need to reevaluate their entire portfolio.
Very much so, and I agree with what you were saying. I know Genesis Global recently suspended redemptions. I know that Genesis Global serves as the liquidity provider for the $6.7 billion Grayscale Bitcoin Investment Trust, which for whatever reason, and you got to wonder how a publicly traded company like this can say no, but they won't show the ledger. They won't give access to their ledger to prove that the Bitcoin is actually there. A lot of people surmise maybe they've been lending it out. Also, the term rehypothecation comes to mind, where multiple people think they own the same asset, similar to what we see in precious metals.